Hi, this is Peter from the DJ Podcast. In this video, we're going to look at some of the new features inside of the 2.5 update to Traktor Pro from Native Instruments. The first new feature that I want to take a look at is the new Analyze option. Analyzing your track allows you to detect the BPM and also creates the waveform that you see in the track decks. So to analyze your track, you would usually right-click on a track and then select Analyze. Instead of simply analyzing the track like before, we now get the new Analyze options window. We can select a BPM range from the drop-down below. We can also select whether we want to have Traktor set a beat grid or not, and we can replace the existing gain. This will set the auto gain level for your track. I should also point out that there's a special BPM detection method for audio files or sounds that are shorter than 20 seconds in length. This is great if you're using loops or samples in your remix decks. If you spend a lot of time MIDI mapping your controller in Traktor Pro 2, you know that it's not necessarily the most enjoyable experience. Well, they've done a little bit to help before the full redesign comes in the future. You'll see that some of the commands have moved around. One thing is that we now have this Deck Common menu, which has most of the common options for playing and loading your tracks. Also, if you're using a lot of MIDI out commands, you can use Learn to speed up the process of mapping those MIDI outs. When you're using the track decks, there are two ways that you can use loops. The first is that you can use one of the buttons here to create an auto loop. The other way is to use the in and out points. Well, now they match when you're using the in-out points. Let me show you what I mean. Let's say we are playing our track and we decide to create a loop. So we'll start a loop. Now, when we end that loop, you'll see that the auto loop matches. This will allow you to use the auto loop buttons to increase or decrease the size of that loop using your hardware controller or your mouse and keyboard. The biggest addition to the Traktor 2.5 update is the remix decks. To get to a remix deck, you can simply click on the letter for the corresponding deck that you want to change, and then press Remix Deck. Remix decks really come in handy when you're using the Control F1 controller. And if you didn't know already, the F1 is the only controller right now that you can really use with the remix decks. You can also load and save remix sets from the browser. This is really great if you want to use remix decks to play out your own remixes in parts. Now, while I can't cover everything in this video, there are some other good features. If you're using the CDJ 400s, CDJ 900s, or CDJ 2000s from Pioneer, you'll see that there's better integration between Traktor and the CD players. Also, if you're using timecode support, you'll be interested to know that the timecode support has been improved. Finally, if you're using the Control S2 or Control S4, you should know that the functionality for sample decks has been updated to work with remix decks. So this has been a quick overview of some of the new features in the 2.5 update to Traktor Pro. You can find the full patch notes at native-instruments.com. And don't forget to watch our other video tutorials on Traktor Pro 2 in our How to DJ with Traktor Pro 2 video tutorial series.